What up? Wade here. Welcome back to the Wade Alter Show. So today what I want to talk about is friends, making friends. And so as you know, I started off as a coach in the dating world, and there's a lot of social dynamics at play there. And a lot of, worrying about rejection, worrying about what other people think of you, how to get over that sort of stuff, how to kind of like understand who has the status in certain situations. And of course, a lot of the guys that get into the whole dating scene, they didn't have the best sort of popularity things going on in high school. And I see this so often today where, things change in a good way ultimately when you're in your 20s or 30s. People become more mature in general, or the type of people that you want to be around. And so what I see though is people pulling this old baggage from their childhood and from their teen years into trying to build friendships and just trying to network or doing anything. And I have a course called Elite Level Networking. So I've broken this stuff down from a business context. But I'm just going to talk about it from, let's say, like a personal context here of what are the best ways, what is the mindset, what are some tactics you can use to really build friends and build a social circle from scratch. And so for me, where this really came from, I didn't notice that at the time, but because I was on the road 300 days a year teaching these dating seminars, I had, I worked every weekend. I didn't have any friends. And the way that people normally make friends is you just have shared common experiences. So all of a sudden you go off to college together and you're all in the same dorm room and you're all off as an adult for the first time in your life. And you're like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like we're doing this together. And it leads to a lot of, new experiences together. You go to a house party together. You fail a test together. You don't show up to your lab on time on Friday. And just like you go to the football game together, and all these things are great. And it leads to, after a few years, a really deep connection with the other person. And even more so, if you meet somebody in grade school and you're friends with them all through those formative years of your life, yeah, of course, that's great. But what do you do when you all of a sudden move to a new city and you're starting from scratch? I moved to LA. It's almost been about a year at this point. How do you go in and go, okay, it's time to build these relationships up? And it's been interesting for me, having done this multiple times now, to really go, okay, there's a process here. And again, seeing that skill set and creating a system for how to, go and attract a woman. And I mean, what better sort of power than being able to attract a beautiful woman? So many people, myself included, you think you're dealt a certain deck of cards in life, and that's all that's going to happen. That's all you got. But you can take that power, you can learn the skill set, and you can learn a system. Go and actually, here's how to open it. Here's how to keep the conversation going. Here's how to lead it forward. Here's how to screen. And here's all the mindsets and frames. And I want to give you some of those related to friends as well, because it's exactly the same thing. It's a skill set. And so the first and most important thing that I need you to realize, I need to batter into your head, is that especially if you're trying to trade up and get in a better circle of people that respect you, people that support you, people that inspire you, they push you up. Maybe they have certain skills, or maybe they have certain experiences that you love to be a part of. They say you're the average of your 5 closest friends. Maybe they're into self-development. If you're listening to this, you're definitely into self-development and growing and becoming a better person. Well, let me tell you, the people that are like that, they want more people like that in their life. They want you to be awesome. They want you to be kick-ass. And so what happens is you go to those situations, and here's what ends up happening. You remember back to the time where you were rejected and you were jilted and you weren't as cool as, the quarterback of the football team. And that led to a little bit of feeling like you got some FOMO before you even knew what FOMO was. And so all of a sudden you get around some people that you value, and you realize you put them up on a pedestal and you think they're better than you. And so all of a sudden when you see something like, let's say they're a little bit sarcastic and they're like, oh, dude, nice shirt, man. You wearing the t-shirt today? And hey, maybe it's cool to wear the t-shirt, but now all of a sudden you're questioning everything because you're thinking, these people are more valuable than me. They're cooler than me. And I really want to wow them and make them react in a good way and think that, hey, we could start a friendship. But now he's making fun of my shirt. And all of a sudden what happens is it leads to this self-fulfilling prophecy where you're like, oh no, now because of the shirt thing, I'm not cool. And all of a sudden you're self-conscious, and then you're a little bit closed off. And that leads to being more closed off. And then you're stuttering and you're doing weird things. And then they're kind of like looking at you weird. And maybe they're talking to their friends like, this guy's a little bit weird. And then it reinforces further. And again, like I said, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, all because of your own hangups. And again, what I want to batter into your head, what I want you to realize is like, they're over there and they're like, is this a chance? Is there finally another cool person that I can meet? Is this another person? And by cool, I just mean somebody that offers value, somebody that offers value to vibe. You don't need to be like an expert at everything and help people that way. You don't need access to all these cool things or like be able to get to the front of the line at the nightclub or something like that. Just being fun to be around, being, high energy, being, unstifled and free. That adds a lot of value because it's like, you're working all day, you're stressed out, and then having just someone that's just like goofy and fun to hang out with and fun, that's a huge value add. So don't think that you need specific sort of things on the resume for you to be like this, or certain friends or anything like that. You just being fun, cool, chill, those are great places to start, and focus on that. Focus on yourself. There's a concept when it comes to attracting a woman, whatever you feel, she feels. And so here's another big thing is when it comes to jokes, here's a great example. Usually people that tell jokes are not cool. And here's why. Like they don't know how to tell jokes the right way. And I'll show you the wrong way and the right way here. The wrong way to tell a joke is when you need a reaction. And so you're telling this joke and it's kind of like, oh, that's what she said, or like just something. And you're waiting for them to laugh and then no one laughs. It falls flat. This feels like sort of weirdly needy because you're relying on a certain outcome. It's needy in the same way that you could be needy for a girl. You're doing it here because you're telling this cheesy pun and, it's not that funny. The way to be funny is actually more you just kind of bust on people, or you own things, or you kind of joke around. And you're just kind of like, again, it's just more about like owning life and just being like, oh, dude, purple shirt, whoa. And so it's like, again, the other person then goes like, yeah, well, fuck you, dude. What about this shit? And it's like this back and forth, not like you guys are just yelling at each other, arguing. I'm trying to kind of explain what busting is. You do this with your closest friends. Sometimes people do this with their family. There's a presupposition here is that if you're able to do this and the other person doesn't get butt hurt, it means that you guys have like a connection, we're on the same wavelength here. We trust each other. There's enough trust that we can even mess with each other a bit, and it doesn't impact, your self-esteem because of the fact of, he sees the stain on your shirt. If anything, you just think it's funny and it's something to laugh at. But you're laughing together. They're not laughing at you. And the thing is that's your choice. You can choose to be like, yeah, he's laughing at me versus like, oh, nice. He's comfortable enough to mess with me, which is so true, actually. Like, unless the dude's a total dick, and I'm not saying don't hang out with people like that or the girl's a total bitch, whatever. Those are not the type of people to hang with. But if this is a high value, high conscious person and they're growing and you're trying to surround yourself with other people that are on the same wavelength, if they do that stuff, it's usually a really, really good sign. It takes me a long time to feel comfortable doing that with people because in the past, I've made the mistake too often of kind of being like, dude, did you forget to put hair gel in or something like that? And all of a sudden they're like, and they kind of like, wilt away. And it's like probably the last time we're going to hang out or something because they think I'm an asshole. And I'm just like, okay, that was weird. Or I'm not like, oh, they're, weak over there. But I'm just kind of like, again, let down more. And not that I'm like the coolest, most high social person. I've just spent a lot of time, cultivating some of these sort of high confident, self-love, sort of personal traits. But like I said, because of that, sometimes I know that it can be misconstrued as, wow, this guy doesn't like me or I'm not cool enough. And again, so often because I was there, I just see the people on the other side and it's like they have this glass ceiling. It's, I think it's the most viewed video on my YouTube channel where it's like the glass ceiling of cool people to where because they just weren't cool in high school, they can never break free of that because their old hangups and things just continue to get in the way. And so that's kind of like, the initial conversation, getting in a flow, learning how to vibe, things like that. A couple other most important things is realizing that because, like I said, when you're in college, when you're in high school, when you're in grade school, you have these forced shared experiences. What you have to do as you get older into your 20s and your 30s, you have to force that. I guess before they're not really forced, they're kind of organic. Now what you need to do is you need to force them. And so it's this process of plowing. So in the pickup world, what plowing is you go up, you talk to some girl. Her frame of reality is you're just the next guy. Your frame of reality is I'm the shit, I'm awesome, you love me. And it's a frame battle. Whose frame is stronger? Whoever's frame is stronger wins out. So if your frame is I'm not that cool, I hope this person likes me, you don't have a frame there. You're being reactive. You want your frame to be like, wow, more cool people. Luckily, I'm cool. Let's see if they're cool enough to hang out with. And I hope they are. If they are, sweet. I'm going to just like bulldoze them with coolness and awesomeness and just express and celebrate my own self-esteem and be like, hey, yeah, cool. And be, willing to be kind of like, I don't want to say like be a fool or make mistakes or something like that, but just stop caring. Part of this is a choice. Part of this for sure, there's social momentum. And I'll talk about that in a second. But it's just a choice of saying like, you know what, I'm going to do some stupid shit. And that's just who I am. From there, then it's like, okay, how do I force those shared experiences? And a lot of it is you got to take a risk. you got to put yourself out there. You have to say, hey man, let me grab your number really quick. And the next time I'm out, I'll shoot you a text and see what you're up to. It's one great way to do it. Another more subtle way is getting a group thread going. So maybe you have one friend's number, but the other person you don't. Or if you're trying to connect people, a thing I'll do all the time is put it into a group that you could definitely text each of them separately, but putting it all together, it leads to kind of callback humor of what happened that night, jokes. All of a sudden you put a little meme up or sort of link to something on Instagram, stuff like that. And that's what kind of forces it forces friendships to happen here. And I think another important thing with this is remembering that friendships always happen one-on-one. So if you're out with a big group, it's good to be one-on-one at some point with someone, as well as, if you meet somebody just in a group setting 3 or 4 times, you're never going to really build that deep connection. And I'm saying like this is with people of the same sex of just like, hey man, what's it going? How's it going? How's work? Stuff like that. That's not going to happen when you have a group of 8 people there. You need to either, kind of put people to the side at point. You go up to the bar together. Let's grab a drink. You buy them a drink, maybe buy them a drink. And then all of a sudden you can have a little conversation, get to know each other that way a little bit more. Or on the other side, like I said, is set up a separate time for you guys to hang out. Like, hey, let's go grab a drink after work. Hey, there's this cool little happy hour. Hey, there's this hike that I'm doing with this other person. Maybe it's like 2 or 3 people. But yeah, if you're meeting them 8 to 10 people, 3 or 4 times, you probably they might not even recognize you. And again, what happens is you go, oh no, I guess I'm a wallflower. I guess I'm not cool enough that they remember me. It's like, no, you need to be more strategic about this and kind of get precise and dial these things in and go in and actually talk to them and expose yourself a little bit there and talk about who you are and kind of see a little bit more of them. That's not going to happen in these sort of social situations. And so with that kind of the one-on-one piece, but also realizing like true friendship is just long shared experiences, unique shared experiences. And so it's being the one to be the sort of Kickstarter when it says, okay, cool. Yeah, you know what? I'm doing this ski trip up at Mammoth. I'd love to have you come. Oh, you don't ski? It's cool. You can come with anyway. And we're going to, we'll do a bunch of cool stuff during the day. You'll be able to hang out in the hot tub, stuff like that. Put 3 to 5 people together. And all of a sudden you become the connector there. And yes, there is a little bit of risk. People go, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. Or I'm not ready to do that. And so, yeah, it takes some time to build those relationships. A lot of that, like I said, you do it one-on-one. And then when you feel like you've had those one-on-ones with 2 or 3 people a few times, then it leads to, hey, you should meet this person. You should meet this person. Let's go meet these people at this place. And maybe at the first time, it's just like a dinner or it's out for drinks or something like that. Or it's on the beach if you're out here in Santa Monica. Or like I said, even better, if it could be like a trip. Because that's really what leads to deep relationships. Because if you think about it, it can be any shared experience. And so the same thing happens when you say you do that Mammoth trip and all of a sudden dude runs into a tree or guy kind of dislocates his elbow or he talks to that random girl and she freaks out like, oh my God, all of a sudden in the text thread a week or 2 later, you can be texting like, dude, you took Spirit Airlines? Like, haha, here's a funny meme from Spirit Airlines. And all of a sudden you have all this callback humor, which only happens when you have these shared experiences. And these aren't going to happen, fall into your lap organically. You need to be the one to kind of kickstart some of these things. And so one of the most important things to take away from this, really the thing I want to hammer home here, is that there's a process, it's a skill set. And one of my favorite quotes is it's never your identity, it's always your strategy. And you just don't have the right strategy yet. Part of that strategy is your thought process. So you want to interrupt those old patterns related to, I'm not good enough, or I wasn't one of the cool kids then, and oh, these people are better than me, or, what do I have to say here? If those thoughts lead to only unproductive behavior, it leads to you only being stifled in your head. And so what you want to do is start building social momentum. And people that are the most social, they're the most outgoing people. Like I've broke this down. I've talked to enough people. I've talked to great salespeople. I've talked to great public speakers. I've talked to the most successful, charismatic play dudes that I've ever met. And even women, exactly the same stuff. A man, woman, it's all the same. Is that you need to have social momentum. The people that are the most outgoing, it's because they do that all the time and they lean into it. Yes, some of them have been doing it since they were 2 years old. But if you decide to start today, you can start this process too of leaning into that. And I remember for me, it was a very tangible thing. I was very conscious of this as I was sculpting my personality to be more charismatic and outgoing. And really what I consider myself as a learned extrovert. And what I noticed what was happening is I'd go out and yes, at the time I was drinking a lot. So there was alcohol involved. And sometimes what would happen is I'd have a little bit more to drink than I expected. And I was going out nonstop, approaching women, being more belligerent and learning how to be assertive and take what I want. And then I'd just be out with like random people, like potential friends. And what happens a lot of times is I'd push it too far. I'd kind of push the social norms of maybe I'm taking my shirt off and running around with literally like a cone on my head or some like crazy shit. The type of stuff where you wake up the next day and you're like, that was incredibly embarrassing. I can't believe I did that. And I don't know if these people are ever going to want to talk to me again. Should I text them? Should I not? Shit, I don't know what to do. And inevitably, what's happened every single time is like, this even happened recently. And so some of the people weren't drinking, but one of these guys like, hey, let's take a shot. And I'm like, no, I don't. And he kind of forced it. And all of a sudden I'm like randomly doing crazy shit. Won't even get into it here on the podcast. And the next day I was embarrassed. And I like texted a couple very high, multimillionaire, successful sort of people here. And what did each of them say? Like, oh no, it was amazing. I loved it. It's hilarious. And what it is just people appreciate people that are willing to let go, because it's so rare these days to just see. That's why, some of the most funny stuff is when you see comedians and they break that sort of line where all of a sudden they start laughing at their shit. And when they break that barrier, it's some of the, like, Jimmy Fallon does too much. But like when you see that, it just leads to you like, oh no, oh, and you're kind of like, you're seeing that sort of like true, authentic sort of fun going on there. And so again, that's not an easy thing to do, especially if you've never done it or you haven't done it much. But what you do is you lean into that. And like I said, I've talked to so many people that you would look and you'd be like, man, I wish I was like that, but I'm just not. And if you actually ask them, they're like, yeah, I think about that stuff too. I think about what people think, but I just thought, fuck it, and they might not say it this way, but the way that I've seen it is you just lean into it more and more. You keep leaning into it and you keep leaning into it. And it leads to all of a sudden, a month later, 3 months, 6 months, especially if you commit to it, doing it once a week, you're not going to get a lot of social momentum. You do this, 3 to 5 times a week and you're going out, you're doing happy hours with your colleagues and stuff like that, or you're going on, lunches or dinners for kind of biz dev sort of stuff. You're going to events and you're making sure to talk to people at these events. If you're single, you're going out talking to people that way. All of a sudden, these things all fill up and add up to you being a social person. And so to sum it all up, you have a social person. And so with anything else, there's a macro momentum, there's a micro momentum. You have the momentum you build throughout the night. So making sure getting in a flow there. And again, not even throughout the night. Like I was just at the grocery store, making sure you're talking to the cashiers, talking to people all the time. The more you do that, the easier it's going to become to do it all the time. And so be building social momentum on that sort of every day, but also every week, every month. And that's going to lead to a lot of momentum there, which this presupposes, again, that this is a skill set. And so again, remember, it's not your identity. It's always your strategy. There's a strategy, there's a skill set here. And part of that skill set is the right internal dialogue. Part of that skill set is learning how to plow, push on through. Part of it is learning how to be assertive and just being like, hey man, yeah, let me grab your number real quick. Like I said, for me, this happened last week and I'm just like, oh dude, that book, talking about a book, let me get your number and I'll text you really quick. It's super benign. It's super innocuous. This doesn't mean you're gay and all of a sudden you're going to start texting them about meeting up on some surreptitious crazy thing like that. They're not going to think that. There's a smooth, cool way to ask for a dude's number, or if you're a girl, ask for another girl's number. It's the same stuff, guys, girls. And I know so many, being out here with my girlfriend, it hasn't been the easiest for her. And so the reason why this kind of is flowing so easily, I guess, here for this podcast is like I've been helping her a lot with it. I've been helping a lot of people with it and kind of recreating it for myself. And again, the other piece is just remembering things happen one-on-one. Friendships are built one-on-one. If you feel like, oh, the reason I'm just not good at talking to people, I guess, or I'm just not good enough because every time I go into this one group of like the cool people, I always have to like reintroduce myself every time. It's like probably because you're just hanging with that one person that you know more than the rest of the people. And you're not creating any of those sort of one-on-one things going on. And then you're not forcing those shared experiences. Which, like I said, at first start one-on-one, move into shared experiences. And this leads, I don't care what age you are. I'm getting close to 40, and it's like, it's easy to develop friends at this point. I wouldn't say it's simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. And the more momentum you have, the more it's just like a tidal wave where then, yeah, it does become easy because you're just like, this is who I am, and I'm constantly meeting people and those people lead to meeting other people. And then all of a sudden you have like a great network of people and you get some, for me, I got a couple super connectors. It's like, if you know these people, you automatically meet 30 other people and you basically become a super connector. And when you have a couple super connectors together, that's what leads to literally like you can create Dan Bilzerian level parties and roll out to the club in your mid 30s with, 15 or 25 people, which for most people are like, that's insane. That's not possible. And it completely is. It's just a choice if you want to put some time and emphasis for this. Like I said, if you're in the throes of business and you're thinking, oh, and you're focusing on all these other areas of your life. This is another one at some point you should put some time towards, because having a thriving, vibrant social circle that is the exact type of people that you want to be around, that are easygoing, they're fun, they're successful, they're growing. I mean, it's one of the best things life has to offer. And so remember, money isn't everything. Success in these other areas isn't everything. If you don't have people to share it with, you don't need to just rely on your family. Family's great. That's a huge thing to develop and build as well. I would say having that social circle, harnessing, the power of being the average of your 5 closest friends and the mirror neurons that kick in there, and how it really sucks you up, inspires you, and motivates you to hit the next level. I hope this gives you some great little bullet points to jump in and get started this weekend or today. Start setting stuff up, get a couple coffee dates going, get a couple, happy hours going, stuff like that. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got. If you want a little bit more details on, especially just networking, I do have a course called Elite Level Networking. You can find it out at weightwalters.com. Super cheap. I think it's like $17 or something like that. I don't remember what the price point. It's crazy reasonable, and it's a quick little product. And I think it will give you exactly what you need if you want to take this to the next level. So I hope that helps you out. I hope you have a great week. And as always, enjoy.